Alright, when I first started ice fishing, I didn't have any electronics. We were just new to the sport, we were just getting into it. And we still caught fish. From that experience, I kind of have a technique that I still use with the electronics a lot that I'm going to show to you here. Right, the main thing electronics do are make you more efficient. You know pretty quickly whether you're overfished or not. Obviously, if you don't have electronics, you don't know unless you catch something. Another thing that they do is they tell you what depth you're fishing. So as you get more experienced, or if you're catching fish at a certain depth and you go to move, you know what depth roughly to be looking for. I'll show you what I did before we had all this fancy stuff. So one of the mistakes that I originally made, we mostly caught bluegill. We mostly were fishing for bluegill, which most of the time they're on the bottom. They're within from the bottom up, the next couple feet is where we normally catch them. I hate to even guess how many perch and crappies I dropped my jig down past. Wasn't even really thinking about them, just went right through them and looked for bluegill on the bottom. So kind of what I got in the habit of doing once I realized how many fish that I was possibly passing up opportunities on is, instead of just flipping your bail and dropping your bait straight down to the bottom and then fishing there, what I'll do is I'll go ahead and drop down just a couple feet and then I'll just start stripping line. And I'm stripping out like roughly a foot of line at a time. So right there I know that I'm about 2 feet deep, 3 feet deep, and I'll just keep doing that. And as I'm counting them, now I know my depth. And as I'm doing that, when you get down, you know, every 3 feet, every 3 pulls out, go ahead and just stop it and jig a little bit. Just work the water column on your way down. And then if you catch a fish on your way down, if you pulled out, say 6 feet of line, you know, if you want to get back down there in a hurry, pull out 6 feet of line, drop it down, and maybe you'll get back on its buddies. And actually, when we first started out fishing, I bought us the first fish finder. We usually shared that amongst 4 people sometimes. Yeah, and that's another option too. If you got some buddies that you normally go ice fishing with, get together and just buy one unit and then share it amongst the group when you go out. Usually the electronics, if you can show me that there's fish, maybe they're bluegill, they're right tight to the bottom, you can go ahead and take the electronics from me and use it somewhere else and I'll still catch fish. Now another thing that the electronics definitely does for you is it lets you know what the fish are into that day. You can tell a lot by their reaction, if they'll chase stuff, if they maybe take one look at it and then they're gone. You can tell how interested they are in certain things, and you can make adjustments, tie on different jigs, use different baits based on what you're seeing. Before the fish finder, one thing I like to do was I would just keep switching jigs. Every time I drop down to the bottom, working it on the way down the whole time. And then when I'm ready to bring it up, I'll do the same thing. I'll give it a couple cranks, work the water column on your way back up. And if that didn't work, normally what I would do, I would start out more aggressive, maybe have, I'm not talking like I wouldn't start out with spoons pan fishing, but I would typically start off with a bigger, heavier jig that sinks a little quicker. Maybe it has some rattle to it, maybe it has some bleeds on it. But I would start out with something like that, and if they weren't interested in that, then I would keep downsizing it until I would switch eventually to the tiniest jig that I had and drop it down and see if they were interested in that. Hopefully changing colors if you can the whole time, because it might be a color thing more than a size thing. In my experience, it's typically typically a size thing, it seems like. But then, when I was done with that, and I thought, well, maybe there's not any fish here, I need to move, that's when I would break out the spoons, more aggressive baits, pound the bottom, stir things up, and really cause commotion and see if anything came over to investigate. Another thing you probably need to pay close attention to as well is if it's a certain type of jigging that you're doing, like if it's big lifts and drops, or if it's just little tiny head shakes that they're into that day. So every day it's different. If you don't have electronics, you need to vary up your jigging technique too, on your way down, on your way back up. Well, I think that's about it. I think we're going to wrap it up here for the day. If you're going to go out ice fishing, hopefully this helps you.